Welcome to Kinship Cafe. I am your host, Jim Jones, and today I am joined with Marklyn Retzer.
How's it going? Happy to be here, Jim.
Hey, thanks so much for coming on today. And we're going to be talking about life lessons, which
Yeah.
I think is going to be a great topic.
Awesome.
Before we jump into that, would you like to start us off with a song?
That'd be great. I'd love to.
Right on.
Every day it gets harder finding my own way. Sunrise, open my eyes. I can't hide out in the shade. The world is turning. Oh, oh, oh. You get what you give. But it gets easier to give love when you let it in. Put me in the redwoods, let it in. Even when my heart hurts, let it in. Sit and watch the sunset, let it in. Let it in. I doubt myself, believing questions about what's in my soul. Beauty is waiting all around for me to behold. The world is turning, oh, oh, oh. You get what you give. But it gets easier to give love when you let it in. Put me in the redwoods, let it in. Even when my heart hurts, let it in. Sit and watch the sunset, let it in. Let it in. This is all I need. Right now, here with me. This is all I need. Right now, here with me. Put me in the redwoods, let it in. Even when my heart hurts, let it in. Sit and watch the sunset, let it in. Let it in. Drop me in the ocean, let it in. Even when I'm crying, let it in. Like the birds I'm flying, let it in. 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 Let it in.
Wow, that was a fun song, Marklyn.
Thank you, Jim.
What's this one called?
That one's called Let It In.
And so tell me about this song.
Diving into how I feel alive, what resets me and kind of where I connect with the world and life and everything. The ocean, redwood trees, trees in general, sunsets. I'm a huge sunset fan. Like, I will get down to watch the sunset dropping into the ocean as often as I can.
Yeah.
And so taking that and also recognizing that I need to recharge myself in order to give love, but I also need to be receiving love to have love to give. So it's like this cycle of I've got to be willing to let love in, to let it in so that I have something to give, and at the same time I've got to be recharging myself to give more. So
right.
that circular thing where getting love, giving love, recharging, reconnecting with the earth and the world and what works for me.
Yeah, love it.
Yeah.
Well, you know, one of the things that I was thinking about when I was listening to you play the song is within different aspects of mindfulness, one of the traits that people try to address with that is that by nature we tend to really emphasize negative things that happen to us, and things that are good or just neutral just kind of poof go by, right? And evolutionarily it makes sense, because you got to be paying attention to when something's wrong, right? So one of the ways we combat it is one of the books I read talks about this taking in the good. And when you're talking about this, letting it in, and all these different vistas in which you're receiving this, it really made me think of that, because it's so important to notice when we are experiencing something awesome, and just let it in, soak it in, take it in, and dwell on it for a bit.
Yeah.
Because it'll transform so much of how you're experiencing life if we work on emphasizing that good part as well as the bad parts.
Yeah, and that for me is definitely a struggle. I struggle with getting overwhelmed by the negative and how do I reset? So this for me, there was a lot of working that out in the song. Yeah. How do I reconnect with who I am and who I want to be and how I want to show up? And how do I connect with giving love more, because I know that's part of what's going to reset me. And so it's how do I get it? And I let it in and let it in.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So we're talking about life lessons.
Yeah.
And part of how we came across this title is we were talking about the fact that professionally you work as a teacher.
Yeah, I'm an elementary school teacher working with second graders, so 7 and 8 year olds.
Brave.
You were talking about mindfulness, and there's a lot of stuff we do. Really the research and the educational community has come around to that over the last really especially the last decade, hearing that a lot more. Let's focus on this mindfulness. Let's focus on mindset. How we can, believe that we can learn and grow and move forward. One of the things I do with my kids almost every day is just take a moment and just stand. Get your feet on the floor. Feel your feet inside your shoes. What do you notice? Just check in with yourself, and how can you adjust and get ready for learning and growing and whatever you're going to face.
Yeah, well, that's great. Becoming more present and aware.
Yeah.
In our world that's got so many distractions, learning how to bring it in and say, what's happening right here, right now.
And it's funny, I'll see them connecting with that in different parts. Like they're sitting down to read or doing something. It's like feet go down, some of the body activities that we do, some of that stuff, motions. It's like, okay, it is sinking in a little bit.
Yeah.
And then watching over the course of 9 months with them, a school year, being able to, how much they can stand, like on the first week of school, there's like 15 seconds maybe, and they're cracking up, they're laughing, they're wiggling around. By the end of the year, it's like they can do a minute, and they're just standing there. It's like, okay, we have, just looking at that as progress. How can you connect with yourself, and how can you work on here?
Right.
Yeah.
So second grade.
Yeah.
How did we land there?
I started out as a high school Spanish and math teacher, and in California they implemented class size reductions, and so there were lots of job openings in the elementary school, and for a bilingual teacher with experience, there were a lot of doors open, and so I landed in it, and always thinking I'm going to go back to high school.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that a lot, and elementary school has been a lot of fun, and it's really worked, and I'm enjoying it.
Okay.
I don't have plans to do anything else. I'm going to ride this one out.
Right on.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think about a classroom full of little kids, and, that makes me want to go run, But that's awesome for people who can get in there and connect, That's my hat off to you,
Thank
sir,
you, sir.
because it is an area where we really need people who care.
Yeah.
So it's the future.
It is the future, and one of the things we talk about is, I got this from a good friend of mine that I teach with, and he says, we're making better humans. What we're really doing here is we're helping to make better humans. And yeah, the reading and the math and the writing, all that stuff is super important. And if we could connect with, how can you be kind? How can you look out for other people? How can you listen to the world around you and the people around you? Not only do you take the academic skills, but we're building a stronger community and a better world.
So in the school that you're teaching, is this an outlook that is shared by most of the teachers there? Are they going to continue this after they leave you?
I feel fortunate that the answer is yes.
Oh,
yeah,
good.
I'm in a great community where we've had a lot of people from administration, teachers, everybody on board, looking at the whole picture, looking at the community and thinking about that.
Nice.
So we talk about character education as a school. What character traits are we focusing on?
Yeah.
You mentioned mindfulness, compassion, sensitivity. There's a bunch of them. Just stuff like that, and focus on one a month. And as a school, we're taking that and looking at how can we bring conversations, taking it from the classroom, hopefully getting out to home as well, and the world beyond that.
So within psychology, there's a somewhat new branch that's kind of developed recently called positive psychology, not to be confused with positive thinking. And a large part of the emphasis on that is on character strengths and focusing on strengths rather than weaknesses in terms of developing. When you're talking about the character traits, are you doing something along those lines with the character strengths through positive psychology?
Mostly we're having conversations around it. It's like, hey, here's what this trait looks like, and hearing from the kids what they think. And so there'll usually be a presentation from the school in front where a lot of times the older kids throw a skit together or something.
Oh, yeah.
And we're starting into this month of empathy, for example. What does empathy look like? And then we'll have the word up in the classroom and have opportunity. And if we see it as a teacher, I try to look for it. Hey, okay, that was showing empathy. How can we connect with that? How bring it out more and recognize it when we see it.
Wow. I wish they had stuff like that when I was in second grade.
Yeah.
Many moons
Me too.
ago.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. So how do we're talking about life lessons, not just for the second graders, but for all of us. How do you take some of these aspects and weave them into your life, or what are some things that you think might be helpful to share with other people?
For me, the moments are a huge thing, like recognizing that there's so many things that it might not even be a big deal at the time it's happening, but recognizing, wow, that was a really special moment. And so being able to be grateful for it, being able to appreciate it, being able to recognize. Sunsets for me is a great example of that. This thing that seems simple and complex, and well, it happens every day, but each one of them's different, and the beauty there, and then recognizing we have those moments in interacting with people and talking with each other, and sometimes something that I might feel like wasn't that big a deal turns out that somebody else later says, wow, thank you for saying that to me. Or by the same token, I've had so many people do things for me and they don't even realize that it's something that affected and impacted my life. And I talk to them later and they're like, wow, okay, thanks for telling me. So those moments that we have, those special moments, and I work to bring that out of my songwriting. How can I connect with moments that are meaningful to me and spreading joy and spreading the word about, hey, take a moment. Get inside a moment and find what's there.
Yeah, and it's such an important thing, like we even talked about earlier, that taking in the good or just really taking the time to acknowledge and notice when we're experiencing something good.
Yeah.
But I love what you're saying about when you experience something good from somebody else, letting them know.
Yeah.
You know, that's huge.
Expressing that. And the world around us, it feels like there's always loss going on. And sometimes feeling that is a reminder. And I guess we shouldn't need that as a reminder to be grateful to people and express love and express appreciation and express gratitude for what we have and the people around us.
Well, and it can be an interesting practice that we can develop where you talked about, positive character traits or strengths. As we develop the ability to see those in other people, that can really transform things. Like I've found when there's somebody I maybe don't have the best of relationship with, if in my mind I'm looking to try and see what are their strengths, what are they good at, then I start to see them differently, and taking it to that next level of letting somebody know what you see in them, it just transforms the whole dynamics.
Yeah, that's a great idea, and I think I'm not very good at that, and working to get better, but acknowledging it, at least recognizing, okay, yeah. And there is so much power in that, taking someone who maybe I'm feeling grumpy with, angry with, whatever, for whatever reason, and going, okay, here's a thing I appreciate about them, and trying to step out of my own way and go, thank you for something, whatever it was.
Yeah. Well, it's any of those things that we can do to kind of interrupt our thought patterns that are getting us caught in the cycle, right? So we can pause for a minute and really notice what's actually going on. Gives us that opportunity to come out of it in a way that's more positive.
Yeah.
And
totally.
So all those things are just, I love what you're doing with that.
Thank you.
So do you have another song you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay.
I'm making new, more clever ways to keep you away as the fear keeps building up in me again. But I find that anything I do to keep you out only serves to lock me in. Don't wanna put any barriers between us and hide away the best of me. I may not know what's gonna happen, but I'm open and willing to see. For far too long I shut my feelings down with lots of reasons that I found to justify, until they overflow and they start to spill out and become impossible to deny. Don't wanna put any barriers between us and hide away the best of me. I may not know what's gonna happen, but I'm open, willing to see. I'll march around them 7 times and shout down those walls, and I'll celebrate when they fall. I'll open up my heart because I know it's better still if I never put them up at all. Don't wanna put any barriers between us and hide away the best of me. I may not know what's gonna happen, but I'm open and willing to see. Yeah, I'm open and willing to see. Yeah, I'm open and willing to see.
Wow, Mark, some just really interesting lyrics with this one. What's this one called?
This one's called Barriers.
Barriers.
Yeah.
So tell me about this.
Okay, living in San Diego, for some reason I've been thinking about walls over the last, couple of years. And in thinking about it, I started really turning it inside and thinking about the walls that I put up in myself. And whether that's between other people or whether it's situations, whatever. And I've got these walls, and I realized that I don't want these walls up in myself, because a lot of times what I end up doing, the wall doesn't keep somebody else out. It just boxes my own self into a smaller and smaller situation.
Yeah.
And, the line in the song, find that anything I do to keep you out only serves to lock me in.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah. And so, how can I open my heart more? How can I be willing to connect with somebody that I may not immediately think I have a connection with? How can I get rid of a wall, or how can I be more open and willing?
So what do you do? put you on
I try
the
to
spot.
listen. Yeah, no, I try to listen, and I try to have conversations. And again, I think I'll readily admit I'm not great at it, but trying to be aware of those situations and how can I listen to someone? How can I find commonality? What do we have? I really believe that as human beings, we have so much more in common than we have differences.
Yeah.
And so how can I find those connections? And, on a good day, it'll be listening and sparking a conversation and connecting some way. Yeah.
Well, I know it's a tough thing for everybody, right? I mean, obviously, we all seem to see a lot of it going around. But, I was having a conversation with my wife about this the other day because in thinking about socially, a lot of big, like, cultural stuff that's going on.
Yeah.
We've had the whole Me Too movement, right?
Yeah, definitely.
We've definitely had a resurgence in thinking about racism and its place in our culture. And, one of the thoughts that I've had and wrestled with when thinking about, like, these bigger ideas, because this can definitely create those walls, those borders, right?
Yeah.
Like, we used to watch this Netflix show, House of Cards. Yeah. And so when the stuff came out about Kevin Spacey, it was like all of a sudden, well, one, I think they took him out of the show. But then, like, my wife would even say it was hard to watch it now because of that, So I think those are like, okay, those are some things that come up. How do we think about those, especially when they're like such hot issues? And one of the things I try to bring it back to is sometimes we, as a culture, kind of evolve to certain ways of thinking where we can be clear about certain things that in the past, not that they were excusable back then, but the culture was different. Yeah. And we look at things differently. And, Steven Pinker was a great researcher that I've read a lot that was talking about kind of like the history of violence and many other things. But he would go back even just like 50 years and we'd listen to political speeches and you're just like, huh, they got away with saying that, like, on the news? And you're like, how is this even possible? And you think, well, they weren't thinking about it differently then, right? You can't take our current ideas and transport it back, right? It's not, we can say we've learned, but it's hard to judge somebody in that context that they were doing something from our perspective. You know what I'm saying?
I think so.
Yeah, and so part of the reason I go through that exercise is simply to try and have a little bit more of an understanding, not necessarily an excuse or anything like that for other types of behavior, but trying to have a better sense of who other people are who are doing things that I don't necessarily agree with, whether it's politically or some of these cultural things or relationship-wise, to try and help to have a better sense of who they are as a person and maybe how they ended up where they are in order to try and find that connection.
I've heard someone say, everyone around you is doing the best they can with what they've got. And, maybe true, maybe not, but as thinking about other people like that, like how did they get in their situation? Well, culturally or historically or whatever, they're doing the best they can with what they've got. And for me, that helps me open up a little more grace and then recognize, same with myself, when I'm stuck in something and I see things about myself and I'm like, wow, I did that. Okay.
Yeah.
I was doing the best I could with what I had, and now what can I do different?
Right, right.
That whole where are we and where are we going?
Yeah.
Who do I want to be in the world, and how am I going to show up like that? Starts with recognizing where I am.
Yeah, yeah.
And if I don't get to recognize that, how can I get to anywhere else where I want to be?
And I guess that's part of the picture too, is the more we can recognize in ourselves where we have failed.
Yeah.
Right? But that doesn't hopefully become a defining moment of who we are, but something we can learn from, then that same compassion we can develop for ourselves, we can help to use towards others.
Yeah, hopefully. It starts by applying it to ourselves, and that for me is always a huge struggle, applying compassion and grace to myself for things that I look at and I go, okay, I messed that one up. That's not where I wanted to be. That's not how I'm wanting to show up.
Yeah.
And taking a moment, stepping back and just going, okay, I'm here.
Yeah.
I get to choose to keep moving forward.
Yeah. And we do whatever the next thing is within that context.
Yeah.
Right? We can't just go from A to Z. We have to go from A to B.
Yeah.
So what's the next best thing we can do from right here?
One more step, and then one more step.
Yeah.
And one more step.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So have you had any interesting experiences thinking about the education with helping the kids to work through these kinds of things? Like with maybe a bullying situation or anything like that?
I think one of the things we're working on doing as part of, over the last, I would say even 5 years, this kind of restorative justice and kind of approach to how we deal with problems, where having people sit down together and talk to each other. And more than like specific times where, okay, this one really fixed this and really changed that, just I think the overall tone and mindset. We start the year by sitting down together almost every day and taking a few moments. Okay, how are you feeling? And I'll throw out a question. What's something you're grateful for? What do you like to eat? Some deeper than others, but really to just get them talking and listening to each other. And so sitting in a big circle, then if there's two kids that have problems with each other, sit them down together and go, okay, what did they say? What, you talk, now you talk. What did you hear them saying? What do you hear them saying? And really connecting and trying to build community and try to bring them in on that rather than saying, okay, you did this thing and now away with you. Mm-hmm. How can we be more inclusive?
Yeah.
And so I think, I don't have shining stories of this one kid totally transformed, but just watching over time, more openness and more empathy and more willingness to connect with each other and willing to listen to each other. Seeing that.
Yeah. So do you engage with them about what we mean by the difference between restorative versus retributive justice?
I don't even use those words with them.
Right. But the concepts?
From a standpoint of this hurt someone or this made someone feel not part of our group, this hurt their feelings even, and what could you do differently next time? How can you look that? So it tends to be more on the practical side of it of where, and a little bit idealism there, but, we're aiming for it at least.
Yeah.
And seeing moments where it works, where our PE teacher has it's called the community corner, and PE lots of times kids are running and grabbing each other, and there's all kinds of squabbles. Kids now are taking themselves over there, and they'll put themselves in the community corner to be able to talk it out, and they know the steps. Okay, what did you do? What did you do? What are you feeling? How being able to talk with each other and listen and really get through it that way.
That's great.
Yeah, it's amazing seeing, and that's what I mean about I work in a wonderful community of teachers where the PE teacher has trained them like that, where you guys know, do you need to go to the community corner? Sure, yeah, let's go. Or just, hey, we need to go to the community corner.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just love the different outgrowths I've seen where taking this approach of restorative versus retributive, and in case people aren't familiar with those two concepts of justice, restorative is about there's a relationship of some
Yeah.
kind that's been broken, right? Maybe serious, maybe not
Yeah.
so serious. And so restorative is about how do we fix what was broken, as opposed to retributive, which is how do we punish somebody for what they did.
Yeah.
And there's definitely, I think, an instinct in us to want to have that revenge, right?
Yeah.
That punishment. But really, the more we can work on restoring and bringing things back together, that's got so much more of a future to it.
Yeah, bringing people back into community. I've been fortunate to run across Azim Kamisa in San Diego. Azim's son Tariq was shot and killed by a teenager. And Azim got together with that teen's grandfather, and they worked on forgiveness, and they worked on building something out of that, saying, we lost 2 boys here. One's dead, one's in jail. How can we take this and make something positive? And the Tariq Kamisa Foundation out of San Diego goes into middle schools and high schools and
Really?
works on concepts of forgiveness and inclusiveness. And Tony, the young man who shot and killed Tariq, was just recently released from prison and served his time and is out and is working with Azim and working with the Tariq
Really?
Kamisa Foundation, spreading forgiveness. And you were talking about restorative justice, and that to me really exemplifies
Absolutely.
that. And some of our local San Diego people here.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is a very powerful story.
Yeah.
So, do you know much about the process that son had to go through, or how he ended up being willing to participate in this?
I don't really know.
Okay.
Not enough to speak to. I know that Tariq and the young man's grandfather worked together and spent a lot of time with this, and
Wow.
visiting him in prison and putting in the time and really doing the work there. And so it was a family, both families working together. It was community building.
Yeah.
So all of that, it's amazing.
That is.
Yeah,
We have to look up more information.
Yeah,
on that.
Tariq Kamisa Foundation.
Yes, love it. Wow. Well, do you have another song you'd like to do?
I do, yeah, I'd love to.
Right on.
A twirling, swirling blur of fluffy pinkness. She likes to wear her tutu on the beach. Smiles spreading, laughter grows everywhere she goes. Though by nightfall she'll be full of sand beneath. I'll walk around in glittered shoes, shine my light everywhere I choose. Happy, wild, and free is such a liberating view. I wanna wear my tutu too. The fuzzy fin appears behind the lettuce as he roams the aisles in his dolphin suit. Isn't Halloween 3 months away? A frowning lady chides. Why ask for reasons when there's joy so absolute? I'll walk around in glittered shoes, shine my light everywhere I choose. Happy, wild, and free is such a liberating view. I wanna wear my tutu too. I won't give in to fear and pessimism. I'll celebrate the joy of being alive. I'll walk around in glittered shoes, shine my light everywhere such a liberating view. I wanna wear my tutu too, don't you? I wanna wear my tutu too.
Marklyn, that was another just great song.
Thank you.
What's this one called?
Tutu.
Oh yeah, I figured it might be something like that.
Yeah.
You know, it's such a playful song.
Yeah.
So where'd this come from?
I was sitting at the beach journaling. I try to get out and write, and sometimes when I'm looking for inspiration for songs, I'll just sit down and write and 10, 15, 20 minutes, see what I have, and sometimes it's ideas, sometimes not. I was watching this little girl in a tutu running like crazy around the beach, and how can you not smile at that? You know, it's a tutu on the beach is ridiculous, but she was so happy and so much joy. And I let those notes sit for a while, and then I came back to it, and I'm like, yeah, I want to wear a tutu too, which is just fun to say. And so taking those, again, moments, here's a moment of joy, here's a moment of bliss, and trying to unwrap it in a story, and just where do we go from there?
Yeah.
Another verse in the song talks about a boy in a fuzzy dolphin suit, and
Right.
that was one of my sons who loved the dolphin suit. We had a bunch of fuzzy animal suits that showed up as Halloween costumes one time, and they'd want to wear them all the time, so I'd be running around with a pack of kids. Their friends would come over and they're like, let's wear the animal suits. Okay. Because kids in animal suits is great.
Yeah.
And he'd go out, and I remember one time somebody giving us grief about it. And it's like, really? Look, how happy is he? Look
Yeah.
at the joy. So what? It's, the middle of summer. He's in a dolphin suit. He thinks it's great. And how can I bring that joy to my life? Where can I find opportunities to just step up, whether it's sparkly shoes or whether it's, something with rainbows on it, whatever, what feels good to me, without having to worry about what other people are thinking about it.
Yeah.
Where's that joy?
Yeah.
Where's the bliss?
Well, I love the storytelling of it, because you can, at least I could, in my mind, see exactly what you were saying, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it was very vivid, and I love it when you can get transported in the story like that. But what is the metaphor about the flashlight shining it where you want to shine it? Where are you going with that?
Shine my light everywhere I choose.
Yeah.
It's more just about being willing to step up as who I am. Step into the world, it's like, okay, here's light, here's me, here's who I am.
Gotcha.
And I'm willing to step out and be who I am wherever I go. And again, I'm working on it.
Yeah.
But finding that, I find like when I'm able to do that, when I'm able to live who I am and how I want to show up in the world, I'm more satisfied. I'm more content. I find more joy in what I do.
Yeah. Love it.
Yeah.
Well, Marklyn, this has just been a fantastic conversation.
Thank you, Jim.
Thanks so much for coming on. I'm hoping...
My pleasure. Enjoyed being here with you and chatting.
Yeah. Well, let's do it again sometime.
I hope so.
All right.
Thanks a lot.
And be well, everyone.